Well, by now I'm sure you've heard the news that Hasbro has canceled all of its pre-orders in North America. Pretty amazing that the biggest toy company in the country doesn't have a single plan to mitigate crisis. So Target has thrown Hasbro under the bus with the Star Wars Retro Collection cancellations. They made it clear the vendor was responsible for the cancellations, not the retailer. And we've heard from the Ghostbusters people the same thing, that pre-orders have been suddenly canceled and money has been refunded, or however that works. I myself am a little baffled, only because Hasbro has always been willing to just jack up prices. I would have thought with this trade war going on that we're all painfully aware of, that Hasbro would simply be happy to use it as an excuse to jack up prices again. They are habitually shameless with the excuses they've used to gouge the customer. And we've seen it many, many times over the years. They blamed, COVID, obviously. They blamed the war in Ukraine. They already have blamed the tariffs for what's about to happen. So you'd think they'd be ready. They're more than experienced at raising prices on customers and not giving a crap. And now all of a sudden, even after they announce, we're going to be raising prices on you guys, suddenly they've canceled everything. At least in this country. From what I heard, pre-orders Amazon UK are still live for certain items. I said years ago that corporations, they're only able to operate when conditions are perfect, and they engineer themselves to make decisions based on the assumption that conditions will always be perfect. Yes, they do layoffs every now and then, but that's like their default playbook that's already in place in case there's some kind of bump in the road. And they go, okay, well, if there's a bump in the road, we'll axe this many people from this many things if that comes up, and we will still be able to make decisions like there was never a problem because we axed this many people. I think we're at a point with Hasbro where, yes, they're the biggest toy company in America, in the United States, but they've achieved that through endless mergers and acquisitions, ruthless cost cutting internally, ruthless gutting of their creative departments, ruthless gutting of all of their internal staff that actually are boots on the ground that make the products that get sold to consumers. We know they have no respect for them. They are a management, top-heavy, classic corporation at this point. We know that they have openly embraced AI as a way to start clawing back even more money and not employing more people. They can employ less people now because cardback art is going to be AI. I mean, Wild Bill already has 6 fingers on the latest classified cardback. You've got the games division, which is where they say they're putting all of their attention, wanting to go full AI, full monthly subscription fee, full digital delivery. By every indication, Hasbro, as a company from its leadership, they don't want to make things anymore. They want your money, but they don't want to make things. What I'm trying to say with that is, they put themselves into this corner where you would think that of all the companies that make toys in the United States, the biggest one would be the one that would be best insulated from a trade war, that would be ready with 20 different options on the table to figure out how to maneuver around this. And with Hasbro specifically, you would think that their number one option, as misguided as I think it is, their number one option that they've used over and over and over again would be just raise those prices again. raise them. They already said they were going to do it, and now suddenly that's not enough. I'm starting to feel like Hasbro put themselves into this position over several years. But is it possible that now they've finally gotten to the point where there's no more layoffs they can enact without tanking their own company? Like they have strip mined themselves down to nothing. Now it's either start these horrendous, PR plays of canceling pre-orders on people because they literally aren't agile enough as a company to mitigate crises anymore. They have handcuffed themselves with year after year after year of bad decision making at a leadership level. It really does blow me away that they haven't figured out what they're going to do with this. I don't have any pre-orders in with them. I think in our lifetime we're going to see the end of this corporation. I think it's going to end up being parted out by investors. We're going to see it go the way of Toys R Us and Sears and some of those restaurants like Red Lobster. It's Joann Fabrics is one. Another business that this has happened to. They have become so uniformly corporate in their decision making across so many American industries. With the MBA, the Masters in Business Administration, being the true brainwashing business politic of the day. Everybody loves to talk about how higher education is like this factory for brainwashing and propaganda. There is no degree globally that's more insidious than the MBA. People think, oh, it's liberal arts or it's this or it's that. No. It's the MBA. Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what business you want to go into. You learn this playbook and then you sell every product in every company you work for the same way. And you manage your company the same way. And you mitigate crises the same way. And then when you get big enough and you've swallowed up everybody else and you're the ultimate player, yay, you're king of the hill. But all of that came at a massive, massive cost. You're no longer making things at a good price point. You're no longer competitive. You're certainly not innovative. And your company has no dexterity anymore. Your company no longer has any reflexes to get out from under anything. Why is it that the biggest players in the space always end up collapsing and going bankrupt? I mean, bankruptcies are happening all over the country right now and have been for at least 2 years. Almost all of them have no competition left. And then it gets to the point where it's like, well, we don't have anything to compete against, so we have no way to grow our customer base and get people engaged in our products and get people coming in. Well, what do we do now? Oh, let's start playing shell games with our real estate. And let's start playing shell games with this arm of our multi-conglomerate corporation that bought this business. We'll play over here and mess them up over there because we have nothing left to do. But we got to figure out a way to make money for ourselves. Hasbro is in that position. They have no competition left, really. Yeah, they have Mattel. But is Mattel really a player in the space the way Hasbro is? With all the intellectual property and all of the licenses that they have, the high-profile licenses. I think Mattel might be in a better position by not being competitive with Hasbro at that level. I think Mattel may be in a better position, not by much, it's by degrees, but Mattel may be in a better position to stay agile. From what I heard, Mattel's logistical supply chain is not tied to some of these highest tariff regions. They might be able to eke this out. They might be able to dodge around this for multiple reasons. But Hasbro aspired to be the biggest corporation in the space. And they achieved that. And then didn't care about their employees, didn't care about the quality of their products, didn't care about their customers. And now suddenly they're making these chaotic moves behind the scenes. It's because their playbook has nothing in there as a contingency like this. And I think they've exhausted all their other options in all of the moments when they should have been saving those up, bad as they are, for a moment like this. Hasbro didn't plan for winter. Winter was coming, and Hasbro didn't prepare for it. They were the grasshopper, not the ants. Historically speaking, trade wars are always stupid. They're never good. They never end well for their intention. The intentions of trade wars never come to fruition. It always just hurts everybody. But in Hasbro's particular case, Hasbro should have been the one company ready to juke on this. I mean, you notice the biggest toy company in the world is Lego. And Lego has said, yeah, we're going to have to raise prices in the United States. But their announcements are still ready to go. Their new sets have been announced. They're coming out. No problem. Yeah, Hasbro has, I think they've stripped themselves down to a skeleton crew, which is what they wanted. But they didn't realize that they wanted it because they assumed that conditions were always going to be perfect for them. It's going to be real interesting to see what happens over the next few months with them. But I'm starting to think that in our lifetime, we will see Hasbro finally capitulate. We will see them implode. Because they've played the corporate playbook far too beat for beat. I mean, they have played every note in that music book to the letter. And we know that Chris Cox is not a good CEO. Like, we know that his whole thing about AI and gaming and all that kind of stuff is just the next guy's version of the last guy wanting to be a movie studio. They have taken their eyes off their main competitive differentiator. And they started doing that a long time ago when they decided to stop prioritizing children as their target audience. Now, some people tried to tell me years ago that Hasbro didn't do that and that they were still all about kids. But we know that's not true when you have a Hasbro Pulse and a HasLab, and the toy volumes have gone down and everything's collector priced, and they still are happy to gouge the price higher for more of these toys. And news article after news articles come out with the CEOs of the toy business saying, yeah, we're going after the adults, and we have for a while now. And adults aren't enough to sustain a toy corporation, especially not the biggest one in the country. Not forever, because they haven't brought in the next generation of children to be interested in toys. So they're in a very precarious position. The only thing they had going for them was that adults have the most discretionary income, And some of these adults are addicted to their franchises like crack rock, and they might have actually weathered another round of price gouging. And based on the anger from their pre-orders getting canceled, it sounds like that might have been the case for the most part. But God knows what Hasbro is now facing in terms of unexpected price gouging. In other words, it's clear they must have made the decision, oh, something else sudden has occurred in this turbulent trade war, and the price hike that we will have to implement on top of the price hike we've already implemented for these items we've already put on pre-order must be so egregious that we're just going to have to pull them from the market. There's no way we feel we can sell these here. I would love to know what's going on behind closed doors at Hasbro right now regarding this incident. I would love to know. But if they've got no options left except cancel everything for the US market, I can't see how they're in a stable position to continue to be a company for many more years. Because all it's going to take is a few more chaotic moves like this, and Hasbro might go the way of Toys R Us.